Do children do better under a single parent that's a father or a mother? The U.S. Census data revealed that when children with developmental delays are under the age of 1, dads are more than 15 times as likely as moms to take those children into their care. As well, nearly half the children who ultimately lived with their dads full time initially lived with their moms. Why did they move? The mom often felt overwhelmed and out of control, often because the children resorted to drugs, drinking, delinquency, depression, and disobedience, including vicious swearing at the mom, or what I refer to as the 5Ds. I want to also point out the fact that even there is this trend that I often guide women against when you say like, oh, I feel like a single married mother or a single parent that's married. There is no such thing as being a single parent and married, because you still have this other person to rely on. And I think that that's something that we as married women definitely have to get away from saying, because a single mother who is doing everything on her own is fully responsible for everything on her own. Even if you feel like your husband is not showing up to like household tasks and things, or he's not doing things the way that you want them to, there is still a physical body in that house that is able to be dependent upon worst case scenario, that is able to assist, that is participating in provision, and that is also participating in parenting. Because I think what often happens and what we miss in connection is moms are overwhelmed regardless whether they are married or single. If you're taking on too much, and oftentimes even when you're married, you try to wear your struggle, like I say, as a badge of honor, and so you take on more than necessary, and so you end up getting yourself in these really high stress situations when you really don't need to. And so we tend to be overwhelmed anyway. Now imagine being an actual single parent, and now you're trying to discipline these kids, and they already have like this chip on their shoulder because they don't have access to their dad as much as they would want. They're going to be more rebellious, and more rebellious children are easier managed by their fathers. I told y'all all the time, like, as much as my children love, adore, and respect me, sometimes it takes for my husband to be like, I know y'all heard what she said, or like it takes for him to add that level of sternness, because that's just how it is. And then over time, I noticed that there are things that he will enforce, and the way that he'll say it to them, I better not hear your mom say that again, or I don't want to hear your mother say this again, or whatever. And so over time, they just listen by default, and there is no let me go get their dad. And that only comes from the structure of having their dad also be a parent. And I think that's what's missing when you're a single mom versus a single dad. Dads tend to, generally speaking, y'all, tend to have like more structure and ease of working things out. They also don't focus on small things. So like we get worked up and overwhelmed because we focus on every little detail in addition to the large details. So like we might be thinking about getting a perfect gift for your kid's best friend's party this weekend, while we're also thinking about how we got to get them to and from school, get them to and from practice, and all of these things. Dads will literally outsource. Like my dad, when my sisters were still in high school and he had a hard time getting them around, he hired a driver. Problem solved. Like, okay, I'm in court, I can't get over there to get them from school, I'm about to just call this guy and he's gonna go get them. And he had a regular driver that everybody knew. He would get them from school, get them to where they needed to be. Worst case scenario, like if he would call me and I was busy, or he would call somebody and my sisters weren't driving at the time, he would just get a driver. Problem solved. And so I think that we as moms, we overwhelm ourselves, and we're less likely to outsource too. So that's another thing that I think is probably a point that's not necessarily addressed. In brief, whether infants or teenagers developmentally delayed or delinquent, dads are more likely to get their children who are challenged than the children who are challenging. Yet the children do very well under their care, which opens the door for more young men to define their future purpose as father warrior. Because remember, if they're on the other side of that and they're being raised by their single mothers in the absence of their father, any terrible experience that they have in that regard, they blame their mom for it and they hate their dad for it. And so if you didn't see your dad, you're either going to be resentful of that, and then you're going to grow up to be a terrible father yourself, or you're not going to want to be a father, or you're going to grow up being like, I'm not going to be like him. And so your entire fathering experience is going to be trying to model the opposite of what it is that you saw. Versus if your dad is present in your life, you have a direct example of what that looks like and how it is to be a healthy father. The word warrior is not added lightly. A warrior makes himself aware of the barriers to achieving his purpose. Then, rather than focus on what is standing in his way, a warrior focuses on how to get past those barriers, which is exactly what he'll be teaching his children.